Welcome to the Unlock 360 podcast, where education leaders share how they're turning vision into action, one system, one school, and one student at a time, because strong systems give every learner a better shot at success. Welcome back, everybody, to Unlock 360. We have a very special guest today, Principal Gideon of Castleberry Elementary in Castleberry ISD. Welcome, Principal Gideon.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you on the show. I was sharing with Principal Gideon before this show that we actually have a couple of people that we know in common. And just being here out in Fort Worth, it's always fun to have someone on the show that's real close to home. So it's great to have you. Would you start by sharing with our listeners a bit about your journey to becoming the principal of Castleberry Elementary?
Of course. I started in the classroom in Fort Worth ISD at Leonard Middle School, Leonard Longhorns. I loved it. And I started as a math teacher over there and bumped over after a couple of years to science to be the department chair. I knew that I wanted to go admin, and I was working on building my resume. So I did department chair. I did the tech liaison. I tried to get my hands on all kinds of admin work along with my teaching as well. And so I did 6th and 7th grade science as I finished up my time there. And thankfully, I had a friend that was the principal at Castleberry Elementary, and knew that I wanted to go admin and knew that I was looking for AP work somewhere, and sent my resume over to the principal at A.B. Cato Elementary. And that's here in Castleberry, another elementary school here, and did the interview process and everything. But there was a delay on the hire. So I didn't start until October 2nd of that school year, where they brought me on and kind of jumped in the deep end, got things running, and had a wonderful 3 years there. I learned a lot. And so going from middle school to elementary, going from the classroom to admin, there was a big learning curve, but I had a lot of fun with it. And thankfully, at the end of my time there, after 3 years, I was kind of looking around, seeing what the next step for me was. And my friend that was at Castleberry Elementary left to go to a different district. And they thought highly enough of me in the district to bring me over. And I've been principal here for going on year 4 now at Castleberry Elementary, which is just DFW's favorite elementary school, that I might add that.
Well, and I actually would love for you to tell us more about that. So tell us how did you become DFW's favorite elementary school?
You know, I have most of the information on how it started, but I don't know who nominated us. So there is a wonderful DFW's Favorites magazine that comes out every year, and they do dentists and pizza places and the best lawnmower guy, like everything. And one of their things is schools. And so our name was entered a couple of years ago. I don't know who entered it. I wish I did, because I'd go up and give them a big old hug. But once we caught wind that we were nominated, and Irma Marsh, our middle school here at Castleberry, was nominated.
How exciting.
We were all in. And so I was sending out messages to parents, to extended family, everybody, the kids, anybody with a device could vote. And so we were voting like crazy. 1 vote a day per person. Well, actually per device. So you have a phone and a laptop and a tablet. You can enter 1 vote per device. And so we were voting like crazy and came out on top to be DFW's favorite elementary school. Got a little feature in their magazine and things like that. And then the following year, of course, then everybody heard about it in the district. So all of our schools were nominated, and you can best believe I wasn't going to let any other school in our district or anywhere take that crown from us. So we, again, voted like crazy. We're a pretty big elementary school, about 750 kids. So that's a lot of parents and extended family, and a big push over here in River Oaks, and we got it 2 years in a row, which, depending on who you ask, is the best thing ever. And one else the other principals.
That's so fun. And so 2 years in a row, you said?
That's right. Now back to back.
I'm guessing that you're going for the 3rd.
Oh, we've got to go for the Triple Crown. Yes.
All right. That sounds so fun. And, you mentioned, well, actually, so my cousin, Christy York, worked with Gideon when he served as an assistant principal. And she asked me to make sure that he didn't talk about that spirit stick. And I think she was teasing. So I want to open up that door and tell us about spirit stick.
Well, in honor of the wonderful Miss York and in honor of Baby Cato and Irma Marsh and Joy James Elementary and the Castleberry High School, in honor of all of them, they know where the spirit stick resides. It is at Castleberry Elementary. This is just a goofy award at the beginning of the year for the pep rally. And of course, all the teachers, staff, school board, cabinet members, cafeteria workers, maintenance workers, everybody's there. We're a small enough district where we all fit in the high school gym. And we were, the goal is to be as loud and as cheerful and as, obnoxious as possible. And so we were chanting and we had horns that we were blowing, and we had a flag where we made laps around the gym at impromptu moments. And the second year in a row, we got the spirit stick because I'm not letting anybody take that from us either.
Nothing like a little fun competition. Yeah.
Yes. And, I have to take the stick with me to various meetings where everybody sees it, and student of the month pictures and all the things, just so people remember where it is at Castleberry Elementary.
That's great. I love it. And I thought I heard you mention something in a previous conversation around your high school photo being attached.
Yes, I am. My mama said if I'd better be able to take it if I can dish it out. And so I love a good practical joke. It's funny. It keeps everybody cheerful. And I hired a person that I went to high school with. I've known him since, 5 years old in kindergarten. And so we had all the yearbooks from my kinder all the way through. And whenever I'm in the cafeteria, not the cafeteria, the gymnasium for the pep rally, I'm chanting, cheering, and standing in the front, and all my staffs are in the bleachers. And all of a sudden they hold up these popsicle sticks with a big old photo of me. And they have like 6th grade, junior year. They went through the gamut, and they're waving my face. And oh my goodness, I couldn't stop laughing. It was the funniest thing. So they got me really good. I had no clue what was happening, and they just all poked it up. And I think that also helped with us, the spirit stick as well. But it was pretty good. They got me.
Oh, that's fun. That's really good. I'm curious. So shifting a little bit to a bit, more serious topics, I guess you could say. What strategies are you all using at Castleberry ISD to improve Tier 1 instruction in literacy and mathematics?
Well, and I can tell you that the literacy is, of course, a huge push. We got a hard year with some of our data for that writing that came out, specifically in the writing, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And, it all starts in the lower grades. So we were, if you can build that pipeline up to the tested grade levels, you can't hide a teacher nowadays. There's no hiding places. All of the data and all grade levels are vital to kids' education. And so our focus right now is in the lower grade levels. We have something that we're going through. We revamped our structured literacy block for kinder, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Part of our House Bill 3 goals that we're working on and things like that. And so Castleberry is one of a few schools that or few districts, that has been awarded the TXRL Literacy Grant. And that comes from a few different foundations, but we are working with them to bolster our early literacy and doing, our foundational skills, working on our writing. It's very structured, but that's been a new undertaking this year as we try to build those foundational pieces that lead up to the tested grade levels. We're already seeing some success early on. It's been 2 months now as we started in early August. But the teachers are gravitating. They're learning the adjustments that need to be made. And, it's all research based, which is wonderful. And we have the high quality instructional materials through HMH that we're, utilizing, through all classes. And we're showing some returns already. A lot of teachers have not only just anecdotal data, but, from our early testing and our CFAs that we're seeing as well.
Oh, okay, good. I'm actually curious because you mentioned one challenge that I've heard from others, a superintendent and a curriculum director in other districts also both shared that they were shocked at the writing scores that their students received from the STAR, and they mentioned AI grading and really trying to get to know the new rubrics. Do you think that was part of the challenge that your students had in writing performance?
I think that's a possible factor. I don't think it's the end all be all factor though. After looking at the data, and I will speak specifically for third grade because third grade had a very difficult prompt, right? It was a paired passage. One of the passages was a poem. And then it was asking for differences. It was a very complex prompt based on a paired passage, based on some specific cultural items as well when we're talking about some food and other things. And so that made it very difficult on our kiddos. But then you throw in the AI as well, which it can be a factor, but depending on what you use, there are a bunch of AI tools out there right now. We use Writable for ours, where you can build the rubric based on the Texas STAR rubric. You can use Magic AI is out there, CurioPod is out there. There's a lot of AI tools that a campus and a district can be using to help, perform better and get a better understanding of AI feedback. That can actually be used in the classroom, and a teacher can utilize it after looking at the writings, looking at the feedback from AI, and being able to put their own spin on it to help their kiddos perform better. So while AI is a factor, I think it's more just us learning how to play the game and how to understand what the strategy is that can make our kids successful. And we understand the high rigor that was coming out of these prompts. And I think that had factors. So now that we understand the rigor necessary, then we can put that in place from day one this school year, which we've started doing already.
I like that. I like that you all are really thinking about not just how it's being scored or what it's looking at, but what are they asking for and what is the level of complexity required? Because, I think across the nation in the past decade, there's been a big shift in standardized testing and looking at complexity. And, when I was in school and, maybe you had this experience as well, maybe not, but a lot of what we had to do was recall and reproduce and or basic, apply a basic level of understanding. And when that's the level of complexity required, it can be difficult to take students that have kind of been brought up in that world. And I know elementary kiddos, so some of them, especially your younger grades, may be more used to it, but they have teachers like us, or many of us, that's how we were taught, and that was what the expectation was. And so then asking them to move from a place of, there really may not be a right answer here. Instead, it's about, can you think strategically, make a logical argument, or state a logical opinion or claim, and then support it with evidence and reasoning, which takes to the higher levels of thinking. And if kids aren't really trained that, it's okay to take a risk here, they may be hesitant and not as comfortable in how to address some of those more challenging or rigorous prompts.
That's a big part of it, is that higher order thinking, especially to get that higher score. But on the basic level, we have to make sure that they are answering the question. A lot of times they'll read the passages and then they'll have the prompt and the question, but the writing won't answer the prompt. And so no matter what they write, the state of Texas will give them a big old 0 if they're not actually answering the prompt. So that's a big part of our focus as well, is to make sure that they've, of course, read the passage, they've read the prompt, and they're going back to answer the prompt specifically. And that'll get them from a 0 to a 2 or a 4 whenever you throw in a couple of other things that they can add pretty easily in there. But then thinking through it with text evidence and all these other things, that'll get them to that higher score. But for a lot of our kiddos, we have to make sure, hey, this is what they're asking. So how can you create a topic sentence that will answer that specifically? And that's been a big part of our focus, is to be able to restate the prompt so they're on topic whenever they're writing.
Yep. That's super important. Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, beyond standardized testing, what methods or strategies or techniques do you all use to measure whether or not kiddos are improving year after year?
The year to year is very important because in Castleberry, we are, we get our biggest bang in the domain two in growth whenever we're looking at state testing. And
Okay.
so from kid to kid, as we're going from third to fourth and fourth to fifth, that's a huge part of our tracking. So whenever we're going over benchmark data, whenever we are looking at student data, we are going kid by kid and comparing to last year's star. Okay, if they made approaches last year or low approaches, how can we get them high approaches? How can we get them to meets? Because that's traditionally where we've gotten our biggest score from is domain two. Of course, if we're focusing on domain two and every kid is growing, then our domain one is going to go up along with it.
Yeah.
So it'll cover all bases, but we're also targeting that individual kid. What held them back from being able to get to this next level? What are the vertically the aligned teaks to be able to help with this student? And how can we pull them into our after school program? How can we pull them during RTI? So throughout the year, we have their baseline score as the previous star from last year. And then all of the data from our benchmarks are being based off of that score so we can make them jump, right? What teaks are aligned? How did they perform? What's holding them back this year? And we're doing a true vertical alignment from third, fourth, and fifth to be able to see what we need for each student for them to be successful.
That's really powerful. And it reminds me of the work of professional learning communities or teacher collaboratives. Do you implement something like that at Castleberry Elementary?
We are very fortunate at Castleberry because our superintendent is very intentional with PLCs, and she has a very high standard for how they're run. So for us, our PLCs, we have Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday in the school day, and we have hired PLC paras who they do some science and technology, they do some coding, and they're also able to they cover the class during this time. So if they're not doing some coding work and some technology work, then they are continuing some work that's left from the teacher. And the teacher goes to PLCs for a 45-minute window. And that is separate from
4 days a week.
4 days a week.
Yeah. If you're watching, if you're listening, I hope you hear that. I know that is a conversation that several systems, district wide struggle with, is how to provide enough time for effective PLCs during the school day, throughout the week, each and every week. So that is absolutely a blessing that you all have that much time. That's fantastic.
And it's a big investment. I mean, if we're talking PLC pairs, we're talking extra salaries, but that also does put focus on our instructional minutes throughout the day. Because if we're taking 45 minutes of instruction time out of the school day, and I wouldn't say it's all instruction, just from those core content areas, right? Where they're getting that tier one instruction. They're still completing work. They're still getting some coding in and some unique things that they wouldn't get otherwise. But you take out 45 minutes of the school day, that means we're having very intentional conversations. So it actually benefits us, because if that 45 minutes is a waste, then the rest of the instructional minutes that, are a little bit more crammed could be a waste, and we don't want that. So we have to be very intentional with those 45 minutes in PLCs so we benefit the rest of our school day. But it's a big investment and very helpful for a lot of different reasons whenever we're talking about honing our craft in our professional learning community.
Yeah, sure. How do you, aside from professional learning communities, how do you at Castleberry Elementary, or maybe even the district as a whole, how do you go about ensuring that all kids get the very best in terms of opportunities and experiences? We know from John Hattie's research that variance that exists from classroom to classroom on average, regardless of the state or the country or the demographic or, all the other factors, tends to be pretty big in that, if you have this particular teacher, you may get these opportunities and outcomes versus this particular teacher where you might not have the same experiences. So how do you go about narrowing that and reducing the variance that could exist within your school or across the district?
Well, and I'll speak specifically to our school, and part of it is going back to the PLCs. How do we plan? How do we go through those 4 PLC questions? How are we collaborating together? Because the better and stronger the unity is for our teaching groups and our grade levels, the less of that variance we'll have. Because if they are truly planning together, if they're working together, if they're looking at data together, and they're going through those guiding documents and our curriculum together, then that will limit some of that variance. Now, of course, class to class, you have different kids, different strong suits in the data, and where different the students are academically, but they should be going through those same steps to grow all kids. But I truly believe that teacher efficacy and that collaboration is step one. Also, then with our school, for our campus specifically, a big push is teacher retention. We want our teachers to stay and grow with us. We want them to enjoy working here. We want them to be here for our kiddos. But that retention also leads to less of a variance because they are growing within the Castleberry system. They know our kids. They know our community. They know our academic expectations and how PLCs work, how our guiding documents work, how our curriculum works. So the more we can retain teachers to be able to stay with us at Castleberry Elementary, then the better our kids are going to be and the more opportunities they're going to have because the teachers are going to be growing. I think this past year we had 6 teachers leave, which is the lowest amount since I've been here.
Yeah.
We have a 97% approval rating when we're talking staff satisfaction and wanting to work here and enjoying the job. From this past year's survey, there are a lot of things we're doing culturally to be able to retain teachers, to be able to grow teachers. And it's not like we're a patty cake school. We have high expectations. But whenever you have a strong culture, those high expectations are welcomed, right? That growth and that coaching is welcomed. And whenever you work hard, you do get to play hard and earn things like Spirit Sticks and DFW's favorites and, all the other fun things that we do. But that's a byproduct of some of those foundational pieces that we've laid. So if you get teacher retention strong, and if you get people in here in your system to stay and to continue to grow and a strong PLC, then that will take care of some of those variants in class to class.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that what you mentioned about fun is so important. And also what you mentioned about high expectations. It's just critical that everyone in the school system has high expectations for not only the kids, but for themselves and for one another. And then combining that with some fun, that's good. That's good stuff,
It is. And I think that high expectation, when it goes back to it, it's about hiring, right? You come into a situation as a principal and you figure out who your people are. But then one of your most important jobs is hiring the right people, hiring people that are there for the right reasons, is huge. So this is year 4 for me. And I think that over the years, you bring in the right people that stay and grow with you. You change your culture, you change it for the better, and you're able to hold those high expectations. And they already know about the fun. So that brings in some of them because sometimes we have some of the best teachers from word of mouth referrals from people that are already here in the building.
Yeah, it does sound like a lot of fun. And, having a couple of family members that have worked there in the system, I know that they enjoy their jobs and appreciate the district. And then also, I have several family members that Castleberry ISD has served in one way or the other throughout their educational experience. Because I come from a big family and we're all pretty much, most of us right here in the Fort Worth area. So several family members have been through Castleberry schools. It's, again, just been so fun to have you on. I did have one other question about school site leadership teams and the role that school site leadership teams play in the system. Do all of your school sites have a site leadership team? And if so, what do those teams look like and what are their roles in relationship to the PLCs?
Well, when we're talking the leadership team, it kind of depends because there's a lot of different, depending on which campus you go to, there's a variance in those leadership teams. Particularly if you're talking about people on campus, I have team leads for various grade levels. And we get together 3 times a semester So it's teachers, it's my admin team, it's our counselors, and we sit down and talk about some big items that are coming up. We sit down, we talk some data and some trends, but we also talk about culture. We talk about things that are going well. We talk about morale, student concerns. I call them concerns because we can overcome it. And so that's been a phrase that's been coined around here. You got to get them believing. You have to get them believing that we can overcome anything. That builds that efficacy. That builds their understanding for me that, hey, nothing's going to be a problem we can't solve. And whatever it is, bring it to me. We will figure out a way to solve it. So I have concerns. I don't have
concerns. Okay.
That's right.
You know what that reminds me of a phrase you often hear about students being at risk.
Yes.
But shifting that to at opportunity can be kind of fun and exciting.
I like that. That. And because that's one of those little symbols you see on Skyward as a student is at risk. A little A that's there. But I do like that opportunity.
At opportunity. Yeah.
That's good because that's what we need to offer our kiddos. But with these leadership teams, we kind of go big picture. And so it's a cool opportunity for a lot of our teachers to step up. Some that are looking to move out of the classroom in various roles. And that way they can get a different perspective. They can kind of get a little insider baseball where we have different conversations about things that are going on. Of course, nothing confidential as far as staff members or those kinds of things. But it does give them a bird's eye view of some things that are going on from the district level, from my perspective. And then that can really help a lot of things. And then, of course, part of their job is to be a liaison between admin and their team. So they already know in advance to bring any concerns from their team. And then we hash those out at the end. But that leadership team meeting has been vital for our success. Because you get the ones that buy in and they're going to go back and be your mouthpiece to the team and build up that culture from inside. It's fantastic.
Yes, it is. And it also helps to develop their skills and prepare them for potentially stepping into a leadership role, in administration or in coaching or in counseling or
in a lot of different places. I was told that a leader's job is not only to lead, it is to build other leaders. And so if you're truly wanting other people to grow around you, you got to give them opportunities.
Indeed. Well, Gideon, thank you so much for being on our show today. It's been so fun talking to someone that's in the area and who works for a school district system that is either home to some of my family members or has served some of them in their educational experience.
Well, it has been a pleasure. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope we get to talk soon. And then if your family members watching, just remember who DFW's favorite elementary school is. Okay.
Okay. I have a feeling they will be. And to all of our friends and family, I would like to dedicate this episode to my uncle, Tony Eugene York, who is Christy York's father-in-law, Pamela York's husband, Kevin and Tyler York's father, and my uncle and grandfather, friend, uncle, brother, to so many others. And I'm sure I'm missing some very important roles. But we lost him a couple of years ago, probably around the time this will air. So in loving memory of you, Tony Eugene York. Thank you for listening to the Unlock 360 podcast. Follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube and visit leadteachlearn360.com to learn more about us because every school deserves systems that work and leaders who can make them thrive.